close together, then unfortunately, that will also serve them as a means of exit. And the flies often go out through the gap between the bottom of the door and the lintel. Thus, it's easy to get rid of them and escape from their annoyance, supposedly. Now, the mosquito is quite otherwise. And he's right there, too. For just as the fly has greater power, mischief in the light, guess what the mosquito has good power for? In the darkness. How many have been in a room and you're trying to sleep and you get the mosquito net on, whack your head and so. This is what he's writing about. And this is absolutely true. This is true. I mean, have you ever been bothered by mosquitoes? They drive you mad. I mean, they just drive you mad. Particularly when it's dark and they smell your whatever it is, blood or whatever they're after, and then they really go for you. So how do you get rid of these guys? Look, for just as the fly has greater power in the light for mischief, so the mosquito is torments and mischievous and bloodthirsty after dark. Well, we're with a modern person here, aren't we? This guy is sophisticated, charming, clever, and entertaining. Entertaining is always part. And it's not possible for people to let into their houses sufficient light to stop the activity of the mosquito. Because for these purposes, they would have to admit the beams of the sun, and there are no mosquitoes except in summer when the sun is unendurable. So we can't do this. All light that is derived from the sun, and now we get scientific, partakes of heat. And light is never devoid of heat, though heat is sometimes devoid of light. Hence, while it's easily possible to get rid of flies, it's difficult to get rid of mosquitoes. The second merit of the fly is that unless it eats the mosquitoes, which it pursues and seeks on the walls and in the corners of rooms, people would be unable to stay in their houses. Look, this is not a normal fly. Because most flies I know don't pursue mosquitoes and don't eat them on the walls. How many are aware of any flies that pursue mosquitoes and eat them? Well, I don't know any except there are flies called dragonflies. Yeah. They do go after things like mosquitoes and eat them. So he's talking about a kind of a dragonfly. Something I guess the American troops in Iraq at the present time are experiencing. Bless their poor souls in that heated land. I don't think any of us would like to be undergoing some of the climate situations that they're having to face. Or the people living there for that matter. Anyway, the flies he's talking about apparently are like dragonflies. They actually do go after mosquitoes. But look at how he puts this. He puts it like a hadith. Now he's writing hadith-style literature. You see, I am informed by a trustworthy authority. That's how hadith would put things. That Muhammad, son of John, Muhammad, son of John. Could this be the real Muhammad? A parody of the real Muhammad? Yeah, I think it is. I think he's making a parody of hadith here. All those serious hadith that they collect, this is a lighthearted sort of caricature. This is a hadith about flies and mosquitoes. And of course it's a hadith of the Prophet, not the real Prophet, a prophet of Muhammad, son of John, not Muhammad, son of Abdullah. But I think it is a parody. This is very clever literature. Not religious literature, entertaining literature. How many read the New Yorker magazine? Well, if you go to dentist's office, you read the New Yorker magazines, they always have them in there. Very entertaining, sophisticated stories. He said one day to his acquaintance, he's not talking about serious religious matters, he's talking about these little things. Do you know the lesson which we have learned with regard to the fly, Muhammad says? They said no, but the fact is, he replied, that it eats mosquitoes and chases them and picks them up and destroys them. This is a parody of hadith. I'll tell you how I learned this. Formerly, when I wanted to take the siesta, I used to give orders that the flies should be cleared out and the curtain drawn and the door shut an hour before noon. On the disappearance of the flies, the mosquitoes would collect in the house and completely overpower and bite me violently as soon as I came to rest. Now, another day, I came in and found the room open and the curtain up. And when I lay down to sleep, there were no mosquitoes, and I slept soundly, although I was very angry with the servants. Next day, they cleared out the flies and shut the door as usual, and on my coming to take the siesta, I was eaten up by a multitude of mosquitoes. Then on another day, they forgot to shut the door, and when I perceived that it was open, I reviled them. However, when I came for the siesta, I did not find a single mosquito, and I said to myself, here, the conclusion of the hadith. Methinks I have slept on the 2 days in which my precautions were neglected, and have been hindered from sleeping whenever they were carefully observed. Why should not I try today the effect of leaving the door open? It's also experimental science here. If I sleep 3 days with the door open and suffer no noise from the mosquitoes, I shall know the right way is to have the flies and the mosquitoes together, because the flies destroy them, and that our remedy lies in keeping near to us what we used to wish to keep at distance. I made the experiment, and now the end of the matter is that whether we desire to remove the flies or destroy the mosquitoes, we can do it with very little trouble. Lighthearted, tongue-in-cheek, entertaining, clever, and just very charming. Really very charming. Very sophisticated literature. And this is 9th century Baghdad. I don't think anything in Europe was happening like this at a similar time. Nothing in Europe was going on like this at a similar time. And very delicate as well, very delicate. Really, I can't tell you how impressive it actually is for someone who looks at comparative cultures to see what they were developing and achieving here in this in such a short time in this environment. Let's continue with Jaws, if I might, okay? I think this other one definitely is a parody of Hadith, but now he's being more serious. This is from, I don't know what this is from, but it's the first one. I love this one here. This is a series of Hadith, not going to the Prophet, but this is a Hadith about Arabs and Arabism. That's what this is. Khurailan, son of Kharasha, said to Akhnaf, you got me? You with me? What will preserve the Arabs from decline? He replied, all will go well if they keep their swords on their shoulders and their, not turbans, their headdresses on their heads, and ride horseback and do not fall prey to a fool's sense of honor. And what is the fool's sense of honor? That's a great response here. That they regard forgiving one another as wrong. Okay, they should keep their ammunition dry, they should keep, you know, their costume, they should have their weaponry, but they should not have fools on them, they should be able to forgive each other, which is very difficult, as you may well know, in the Muslim world for Arabs to do. This is something from 8th century now, 800s. Omar, clearly the Caliph Omar, said, headdress